Assyria, the ruthless empire that invented fear. In the shadowed cradle of civilization, nestled between the life-giving rivers of Tigris and Euphrates, a kingdom rose that would become synonymous with power and terror, Assyria. Long before the pyramids of Egypt pierced the desert sky, before Rome's legions marched across continents, and even before Babylon's legendary walls echoed with tales of glory, the Assyrians forged an empire defined by ruthless ambition, relentless warfare, and divine destiny. Welcome to Kingdoms of Mystery. If you hunger for lost secrets, ancient legends, and brutal truths hidden beneath layers of time, you have come to the right place. Today, we embark on an epic journey into Assyria, the ruthless empire that invented fear. Our story begins in Ashur, a modest city perched on the banks of the Tigris River. Named after its patron god, Ashur was more than a mere settlement. It was a symbol of divine power and mortal ambition intertwined. Its people were farmers, traders, artisans, and fierce warriors, living in a land where survival demanded strength, cunning, and the favor of capricious gods. Ashur's origins reach back to at least 2600 BCE, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in human history. Its first inhabitants carved homes from mud bricks and wove simple cloth, while worshipping deities who ruled the forces of nature and fate. The god Ashur, depicted as a winged archer or divine warrior, was believed to grant kings the right to rule and armies the courage to conquer. His temple towered over the city, a ziggurat that reached toward the heavens, a stairway between earth and the divine. Ancient Assyrian religion was complex and deeply woven into everyday life. The king was not just a political leader but a divine representative, chosen by Ashur himself to maintain cosmic order, defeat chaos, and bring justice. Priests performed elaborate rituals, sacrifices, and divinations to interpret the god's will. Prophecies and omens guided military campaigns and political decisions, and the fate of the empire was believed to be etched in the stars. The Assyrians lived in a world where myth and reality blurred. Tales whispered through generations spoke of gods walking among mortals, heroic kings battling monstrous demons, and sacred relics imbued with magical powers. They believed that their empire was destined by the heavens, that their victories were commanded by divine forces beyond mortal comprehension. But the path to greatness was paved with blood and iron. Surrounded by rival kingdoms, hostile nomads, and the ever-changing whims of nature, the Assyrians perfected the art of war. Their warriors were trained from childhood, skilled in hand-to-hand combat, archery, and chariot warfare. They crafted iron weapons long before many neighbors, giving them a deadly advantage on the battlefield. Their engineers designed siege engines, battering rams, siege towers, and sappers, to breach even the most impregnable fortresses. By the early 2nd millennium BCE, Ashur had grown from a city-state into the nucleus of a burgeoning kingdom. The Assyrians absorbed knowledge from their neighbors, the Sumerians, Akkadians, and Babylonians, adopting writing systems, religious practices, and sophisticated trade networks. Trade caravans from Anatolia to the Arabian Peninsula passed through Assyrian markets, bringing lapis lazuli, cinnamon, ivory, and even mysterious stones believed to hold magical properties. Amidst the bustling marketplaces and towering ziggurats, ordinary Assyrians lived lives filled with both hardship and wonder. Farmers prayed for rain and fertile soil, artisans crafted intricate jewelry and weapons, and priests performed elaborate rituals to appease gods whose favor could turn the tide of war or bring devastating famine. One of the most transformative figures in Assyrian history was Shamshi-Adad-I, a king whose reign around 1800 BCE marked the dawn of imperial ambition. Shamshi-Adad was no ordinary ruler, he was a master of strategy and statecraft. Through conquest and cunning diplomacy, he expanded Assyria's borders, subjugated neighboring cities, and forged a network of loyal governors that held the realm together. His administration employed messengers who carried clay tablets inscribed with commands and intelligence, enabling unprecedented communication across vast lands. Shamshi-Adad's rise was seen as a fulfillment of divine will, a sign that Assyria was chosen to dominate. His court was filled with scholars, warriors, and priests, each dedicated to expanding the empire's glory. Yet, after his death, Assyria plunged into chaos. Rival kings and invading forces threatened to erase the kingdom, and for generations, the Assyrians struggled to survive. But the spirit of Ashur was indomitable. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, Assyria rebuilt itself, growing stronger with each challenge. By the 14th century BCE, new kings such as Ashur-uballit I restored order and launched campaigns that would reclaim lost territories and expand the empire's reach. The Assyrian military became legendary. Their soldiers, clad in iron armor and wielding deadly swords and spears, were trained to fight with ruthless efficiency. Chariots thundered across battlefields, siege engines battered impenetrable walls, and engineers devised terrifying weapons that seemed almost supernatural in their effectiveness. Psychological warfare was a hallmark. Before a city even saw their armies, they would receive terrifying messages promising destruction and death, breaking morale and forcing surrender. Yet, Assyria was not merely a war machine. Its cities, Ashur, Nineveh, and Nimrud, were centers of culture, art, and knowledge. Palaces decorated with intricate bas-reliefs depicted epic battles, divine beings, and the king's triumphs. These carvings told stories not just of conquest, but of cosmic struggle, of gods fighting demons, of kings chosen by fate to maintain order against chaos. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the world's oldest literary treasures, was preserved and revered in Assyrian libraries. This tale of a hero's quest for immortality echoed the empire's own obsession with power, legacy, and the fragile nature of life. Religion was the lifeblood of Assyria. The king was seen as the earthly embodiment of Ashur, the god of war and creation. Elaborate rituals and festivals ensured the god's favor, believed essential for victory and survival. The empire's fate was believed to be intertwined with the cosmic order, and the king's duty was to uphold this balance. As Assyria expanded, it clashed with powerful neighbors. The Babylonians to the south, the Hittites to the west, the Elamites to the east, and the mysterious kingdoms of Urartu in the north. Their campaigns were brutal and relentless, marked by massacres, deportations, and the destruction of cities. Assyrian kings boasted of their cruelty as a divine mandate to instill fear and maintain control. But within this brutality lay a complex civilization. Assyrian society was highly organized, with a strict hierarchy and specialized roles. Merchants, artisans, priests, soldiers, and slaves each played a part in the empire's grand design. Trade routes connected Assyria to distant lands, bringing wealth and exotic goods that enriched its culture. The empire's architecture was monumental. Massive palaces featured colossal winged bulls with human heads, lamassu, that guarded city gates, symbolizing both protection and power. Ziggurats soared into the sky, believed to be stairways to the heavens where gods and mortals could meet. Despite the grandeur, life was harsh. Heavy taxes and conscription weighed on the population. The empire's expansion demanded constant vigilance against rebellion and invasion. Assyrians were taught that loyalty was paramount, and that the gods punished the disloyal with disaster. Yet, through centuries of war and turmoil, the Assyrians endured. Their resilience became legend. They believed their empire was eternal, destined to rule until the end of days. But as history teaches, no empire lasts forever. The seeds of Assyria's fall were sown in its own greatness. Pride, overreach, and relentless enemies would eventually bring the mighty empire to ruin. As the Assyrian Empire grew, so did its influence over the ancient world's political and cultural landscape. Their dominance was not built solely on the battlefield, but also on a sophisticated system of administration and diplomacy. The Assyrians developed an intricate bureaucracy that managed vast territories with remarkable efficiency. Governors, tax collectors, scribes, and military commanders formed a network that ensured the empire's cohesion despite its sprawling size. This administrative prowess allowed Assyria to control diverse populations, from conquered city-states to nomadic tribes, weaving them into a single political entity. The Assyrians' mastery of communication was legendary for its time. Royal messengers could traverse hundreds of miles, carrying orders and intelligence inscribed on clay tablets sealed with the king's emblem. These tablets reveal a world of espionage, diplomacy, and intrigue, where alliances were forged and broken, and where every message could mean the difference between peace and war. The ability to coordinate distant provinces quickly gave Assyria a strategic advantage few could match. But governance was not only about control, it was infused with religious ideology. The king was the empire's living god-king, invested with divine authority by Ashur himself. His decrees were considered sacred, and he was the supreme judge, legislator, and military leader. This fusion of political and religious power reinforced loyalty and justified the frequent wars of expansion. Every conquest was not merely territorial but a cosmic battle against chaos and disorder. The Assyrian kings were also patrons of the arts and architecture. They commissioned grand palaces and temples adorned with intricate reliefs that depicted not only military victories but also scenes of royal hunts, festivals, and divine ceremonies. These artworks served as propaganda, reinforcing the king's image as a powerful and pious ruler chosen by the gods. The famous Lamassu, gigantic winged bulls with human heads, stood guard at palace gates, symbolizing protection, strength, and divine authority. Cultural achievements flourished alongside military conquests. Assyrian scholars made advances in astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. Their observations of the stars and planets contributed to early astrology, which was deeply intertwined with their religious worldview. Temples functioned as centers of learning, where priests studied sacred texts and preserved knowledge on clay tablets. The library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries of the modern era, contained thousands of such tablets, including literary works, scientific texts, and administrative records. Despite their power and sophistication, the Assyrians were also known for their harshness. Their military campaigns often involved brutal tactics designed to instill fear and prevent rebellion. They practiced mass deportations, relocating entire populations to weaken resistance and repopulate strategic areas with loyal subjects. Cities that resisted were destroyed, and their inhabitants subjected to harsh punishments. This ruthless approach earned them a fearsome reputation, but it also helped maintain the empire's stability for centuries. Daily life in Assyrian cities was a complex tapestry of religion, work, family, and social hierarchy. While the elite lived in grand palaces, craftsmen, merchants, and farmers formed the backbone of society. Markets bustled with goods from distant lands, and festivals brought the community together to honor the gods and celebrate seasonal cycles. Despite strict social divisions, cultural exchanges flourished, as Assyria's vast trade networks connected it to Egypt, Anatolia, the Levant, and beyond. Yet, even the mightiest empires faced challenges beyond the battlefield. Assyria grappled with internal dissent, economic pressures, and the ever-present threat of rebellion. The vastness of the empire made it difficult to govern effectively, and as rulers grew distant from their subjects, unrest simmered beneath the surface. Environmental factors, such as droughts and famines, further strained the empire's resources and tested its resilience. Ultimately, the seeds of Assyria's decline were sown by these accumulating pressures. Rival powers, including the Babylonians and Medes, capitalized on Assyria's weaknesses, launching attacks that would eventually topple the empire. The once indomitable Assyrian cities fell, their great palaces and temples reduced to ruins, swallowed by time and sand. But the legacy of Assyria endures. Through its art, literature, and archaeological remains, we glimpse a civilization that shaped the ancient world in profound ways. Its story is one of ambition and brutality, faith and innovation, a testament to humanity's enduring desire for power and meaning. In our next episode, we will uncover the hidden stories of Assyrian daily life, explore their extraordinary technological innovations, and reveal the mysteries buried beneath their ruined cities. What secrets do their ancient palaces hold? How did their people worship, work, and dream? Join us as we continue to peel back the layers of history and reveal the forgotten world of Assyria. Subscribe, like, and activate notifications so you never miss the hidden truths behind history's greatest empires. Kingdoms of Mystery, where every legend carries a grain of truth.